From prayer to passion, Pastor David's hand slid to Sister Carol's breast, his lips following soon after. Even Pastor. They said temptation comes quietly, but on this fateful day it knocked on the church door. Pastor David had been watching Sister Carol for weeks, not just as her pastor, but as a man. And that was the dangerous part. He told himself it was concern for her sudden closeness to the brothers in the church, but his thoughts had been wandering elsewhere for far too long. Every time she walked past, his eyes betrayed him, following her from the gentle sway of her walk to the way her smile stayed longer than necessary. He had waited for the perfect moment to speak to her, not as a shepherd to a sheep, but as someone whose heart was no longer listening to reason. That day, the church hall emptied, the echo of footsteps fading until the silence was heavy enough to hear his own heartbeat. He had already asked her to meet him in his office, just to talk. But even before she arrived, he knew this talk would not be ordinary. The door opened slowly, and there she was. Simple, calm, but carrying an air that filled every corner of the room. She sat down across from him, and though nothing had been said yet, the air was thick with things unspoken. His first words were gentle, pastoral, but each sentence carried a hidden weight he could not hide. She listened quietly, eyes fixed on his, her silence daring him to speak what he really meant. The ticking clock on the wall began to sound louder, as if marking the seconds to a decision neither of them planned to make. He leaned forward slightly, speaking of her reputation and the way people had been talking, but his gaze said far more than his lips. Her faint smile was sweet, but something in it carried danger, the kind of danger a man notices but cannot walk away from. Footsteps passed outside the door, a reminder of where they were, but the sound vanished, leaving them alone again. She leaned in just a little, and it was enough to pull his mind away from anything holy. The clock ticked again, faster now, like a warning. But instead of pulling back, the space between them began to close. Pastor David told himself to stop, to send her home, to end this, but his hand moved anyway. She didn't pull away. And in that quiet, something in the air shifted completely. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting to see who would break first. Then came another sound, footsteps again, louder this time, stopping right outside the door. A shadow passed under the doorframe, and they froze, listening. The handle began to turn slowly, the sound like a nail scratching across glass. The door creaked open just an inch, and the bright light from the hallway cut into the room. "Pastor, are you inside?" a voice called softly. Pastor David's heart pounded so hard he was sure she could hear it. Brother Samuel's face appeared, scanning the room. David quickly rose, blocking the view, forcing a calmness that was nowhere inside him. Samuel's eyes lingered for a moment, his voice slow, suspicious. "The choir is waiting for you, Pastor." "I'll be there," David replied, forcing a smile, hiding the storm beneath. The door closed, footsteps faded, and the air between them grew heavier than before. Pastor David turned back to Sister Carol, and in her eyes, he saw it. This was only the beginning.